Welcome to The Current by TreasureCoast.com, where we discuss interesting people, places, and happenings on Florida's Treasure Coast.
So we can kind of roll right in it, but I appreciate you being here, Krista. I know we might want to start with a brief overview of the Treasure Coast Food Bank, what you all do, and the mission.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Josh, for having us. We're really excited to be able to talk to you today, and hopefully the people that are watching and listening can learn a little bit more about what we do in the community. So the Treasure Coast Food Bank, we have been around since 1988 in the community. We were started by a group of people who were noticing that there was an increased need for food assistance, and pantries were popping up, but there really wasn't a support system for them. There wasn't a consistent supply of food, and so they had heard about the Feeding America, it was called Second Harvest at the time, a system where they had food banks that were being set up, and it was like a regular bank. People could deposit and then take out what they needed, but it was food. And so they kind of looked into that and decided that was something that they wanted for this community, and kind of came together to establish our organization. And we've grown since 1988. We were a pretty small outfit for a good point of time in the beginning of our existence. And a lot of it was building partnerships with local grocery stores for donations, and really trying to make sure that the resources are available in the community, but also they're rescuing food that's being thrown into dumpsters and going into landfills as well. So with those two things in mind, they started the organization and kind of built it up over the years to serve as many people as possible that are in need. And back in that day, it was traditionally food pantries and soup kitchens that we partnered with. We were able to tap into TFAP, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and get some government assistance into the community. And it was really around 2009 when our current President and CEO, Chief Cruz, came on board that we really started ramping up and looking at different ways to serve the community and different ways to branch out and partner with organizations beyond food pantries and soup kitchens that are also serving the population that we were seeing had a need. And growing in all four of our counties that we serve. We serve St. Lucie, Indian River, Martin, and Okeechobee. And then also really starting to look at the root causes of poverty and how could we help people get to the point where they wouldn't need our assistance. They wouldn't need a food pantry or a soup kitchen. What are the tools that are needed? What are the resources that need to be invested in the community to get people to that point? So, so our mission is to alleviate hunger by providing food and non-food items. But I like to say that our mission is to stabilize households and help people put food on the table, but also work towards their goals and achieve their dreams. And a lot of times people need assistance with some very basic things just to have the opportunity to do that. So that's why we're here in the community.
Yeah, that's it. That makes a lot of sense. That hunger and having access to food is really kind of the base level before you start building on other things in your life. So I can see how that's very impactful. What is food insecurity? How many people are affected by it, and how is it defined from your all's end?
So food insecurity is the idea that a person does not have enough food to live a healthy and active lifestyle. So it's a little bit of a different idea than the concept of hunger. It's not just about quantity of food; it's about quality of food. And having access to fresh, healthy
Right.
food is a really important component of that. So the number of people on the Treasure Coast that are considered food insecure is about 1 in 4, and and that includes children.
Wow.
So we have a lot of people in our community that they may have access to some food. It may not be enough. They may have access to food that is maybe not the best for their health or health in general. It may not necessarily be fresh, healthy fruits and vegetables and whole grains and, all of those things that you think of that really nourish, your body, but they also nourish your mind. And, so that's kind of what we look at in the community to see where do we need to be, what do we need to be doing in that community, where are the gaps where that exists. And so we do a lot in terms of not just looking at data. We do look at a lot of data to kind of get an idea of, where would certain programs work, where would certain populations need to have access to certain food, and what are their access barriers potentially. Do we need to do a mobile in a neighborhood because everyone here has a need, but they have no transportation to get to a food pantry? Do we need to start building up partnerships in this community because there are food pantries, but they're only open once or twice a month. They're only open on Tuesdays from 10 to 11, and not everybody can access them. So that's sort of how we identify what we're doing in the community. And then also just looking at the population, looking at other programs, looking at other organizations and what they're doing, and seeing, identifying those gaps, and also, coming up with an intervention, and then just making sure that that intervention it has the best chance of reaching the people that we know need the assistance. And then also listening to the community. We want to also involve anybody in the community in terms of finding out what are their needs. I can look at data, and I can talk to other organizations, and I can talk to elected officials. And if I'm not talking to the people that we're serving, I'm leaving out a very, very important aspect of how we determine what we do. So the voices of the people in our community are also very important in how we, move forward with programming and, other things that were and different partnerships in the community.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who would listen to this would be very surprised to hear 1 in 4 people are food insecure, but it makes a lot of sense when you say having, to be able to lead really a healthy lifestyle, or whatever that lifestyle is that's going to accomplish your goals. It does make a little bit more sense than it's beyond just maybe hunger, or what a lot of people think about
Mhm.
when they think about that sort of insecurity. What sort of developments do you all have going on now that are helping with the problem? And maybe you can talk about things that are a little bit more seasonal. I know we've got hurricane season coming in, and if there are any
Mhm.
initiatives that you take in during different seasons that people can look out for, whether they're in need or maybe they want to come and help out.
Sure. Yeah. So we have over 20 programs that we offer in the community, and depending on where we are, that sort of determines which ones are implemented in certain areas. And we have programs that focus on children, both in the school and after school and on the weekends. We have our school pantry program and our after school meals program that provide shelf stable food for kids when they're home on the weekends, because they are getting fed at school. They're getting, if they have a need, they're getting fed school breakfast and lunch. But in the evening, they go home, and there may not be enough food in their household. And when they go home for the weekends and breaks, that might be a struggle for the family. So
Yeah.
we do a lot of specific programming for children. We have specific programs for seniors and families. It's about 20 total programs that involve food assistance, non-food assistance, outreach, and benefits assistance. We help people enroll in Medicaid and SNAP and Kid Care, and also refer them to different other social services. And then we also do some of that roots of poverty work, trying to help people have access to better resources to improve their situation if that's what they're looking for. And that's where our job training comes in. We do a culinary program. We do a CDL and supply chain training. And we also do some barista and hospitality training. And those
That's
programs were
very
really
cool.
implemented because we know that a lot of times people are they're working, and sometimes they're working two jobs, but they're not necessarily jobs that guarantee them specific hours every week. It's not a high enough rate of pay for the household that they are in, and so giving them a new skill set and allowing them to potentially have higher earnings to support their household is something that we decided that we needed to be a part of that, and that was part of the whole household stabilization. So we're we moved into that realm. We've always done CDL training just because we're always looking for drivers for ourselves, and so
That's cool.
we
It's like
kind
a
of had to step
win-win.
into it. Yeah. Although we get great drivers from our training program, and then they go and they get higher paying jobs, and they leave us, and it's great for them, and that's the whole purpose of the program. Um, and so it's nice to have them around when they're done with training, and then sometimes, and some of them just they want to be on the road when they can get the ability to sort of go out and explore the country, and maybe for some of them the first time. So but we bless and release them,
Yeah.
and a lot of them keep in touch with us. One of our graduates showed up on the construction site for our new building. He was driving with a company that was helping bring the supplies back and forth to the construction site there, and he was there, and he saw one of our staff members that he knew through the training program, and she was just like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, this is my new job," and he's like, "I'm so excited
Wow.
that my new job has gotten me, to the point that I wanted to be in my life, but also that it's involving coming back and really being a part of you guys building this new facility to help even more people." So that was really exciting. We like to hear from them. Some of them have started their own businesses, and some of the culinary and barista people. So it's just a really exciting thing to be a part of with people's lives. But going back to seasonal things, hurricane season is starting soon. And that is something we are also very involved in. We are a first responder when it comes to mass care and community meals when there is a disaster in the area. We did a lot of recovery preparation work and then response and recovery work last fall during Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. We were providing meals 3 times a day on a daily basis out in Spanish Lakes. After the tornadoes kind of came through, we had a vehicle set up with just snacks and beverages that people could access who needed them. We were providing water for them until their water plant got back up to the levels that it could be to supply them with water. We were providing water for a number of months as well. So we have some resources on our website for people that just want to be more prepared for hurricane season. Things, checklists that they could put together, documents for them to have all the emergency information that they need and everything like that. So it is something we're involved in, and we get involved with also preparing local agencies to help respond. They get staged and trained ahead of the season to make sure they are able to come in and help with the response of distributing food and MREs and water and ice, depending on the situation, into the community alongside us. So it is a crucial part of what we do in the community as well.
That's a good. I'm glad you brought that up about the on the job training and the CDL, because that's an interesting, when you talk about the root cause and addressing the root cause like we did earlier. I can see how that comes full circle. Especially, it's very serendipitous for someone to come and their job be then having to bring supplies to the new building that you all have. That's very. I can see how that could come full circle and feel fulfilling. What does a day look like at the Treasure Coast Food Bank? I'm sure it depends if there's like an event coming up, and for you as the chief strategist officer, I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of maybe decisions that are focused on the direction of certain aspects of the organization. But by and large, what does a day look like for everybody in there?
Yeah, it does depend on the season and timing. If we have big events coming up, if we're preparing for hurricanes, or, sometimes there's certain activity levels that are heightened around the holidays. We do a lot to get prepared for Thanksgiving in particular every year. Getting everything situated and sort of planned for providing turkeys and holiday boxes to our agencies so that they can get it out into the community, and then planning we have a lot of mobiles with holiday food in November. But I mean, a typical day, the aspects of our organization that are sort of typical, the drivers and the warehouse people get there at 6 o'clock in the morning to kind of get started. And they open everything up. The drivers load up their trucks or finish loading their trucks and get on the road so that they can go out into the community, pick up at all the generous retail stores that partner with us to contribute to the product that we have available in the warehouse for our agencies and for our direct service programs. The warehouse people start working on receiving agencies that are coming to pick up. The orders that they have placed have been staged usually the night before, and the refrigerated stuff needs to be kind of brought out when they arrive. So they're going to be doing that and receiving deliveries. So they kind of have to go back and forth with that. We're receiving deliveries all day. We're receiving people that might be dropping off food drives. And then usually around 9 o'clock, that's when our volunteer shift starts. So volunteers start coming and showing up and signing in and going into the warehouse, and getting started on being a part of that aspect of the organization. Our volunteer base is significant. We had about 11,000 volunteers come through our doors last year, and they contributed about 45,000 hours. So our warehouse could not do what it does without them. And then I neglected to mention that around 7 o'clock is when our staff that does our curbside pickup program shows up. They start staging everything for the direct service that we do right at our facility, which is that people can go online and make an appointment, pick out the food that they're interested in receiving from us, and then show up at the time and day of their appointment right at our facility and have their trunk loaded and receive food. It's sort of like an Instacart kind of program that we have for free groceries for people that have a need. So they get started around 7. Appointments start around 7:30. So
Wow.
that's going on in the morning. And then,
That's
our
awesome.
program staff that are in the field, they're loading up trucks to go out to mobile distributions. They're possibly leaving in our branded veggie cars to go visit an agency to do a monitor and an inspection, because we have to, all of our partners that are distributing food in the community and working with the community, we do have to check in on them and go over food safety and storage regulations, and making sure that they're filling out all of the paperwork that they need to be filling out, particularly if they're involved in any of the government programs. And then giving them any sort of feedback and troubleshooting with them if they have things that have come up that they're trying to find solutions to do. So that's kind of the typical warehouse day. I mean, our development team is in there working with donors to raise money for our programs, and our marketing team is, putting together videos and different, storytelling content to help us spread the word to the community on social media and through other marketing strategies so that people better understand the work that we do. And then, I can't neglect the finance team. They're here making sure everything's running properly too. Um, Everything's accounted for, and everything is there to support what we need to do. So it's really a team effort, and everybody contributes in a way, even if they're not in the field working with a client, because everything that they're doing is ultimately supporting that family that needed assistance, that can now maybe not worry about what's going to be put on the table for dinner, for the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'm glad that you touched on how the donation gets to those who are in need, and kind of the quote unquote, or the Instacart that you all have going on now, because I had heard about that, and it's over. I mean, it's unbelievable to hear 45,000 hours last year. I can see how that helps, keeps the gears turning, keeps the overhead a little bit low, because I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you all are pulled in many different directions. Um, what is, how do you identify if somebody was to go on the website and say, hey, I would like to pick up some groceries, or if it's an organization that wanted to come pick up from the facility, or if there was some sort of entity that wanted to get your support, how do you prioritize those who are in need? Or is it kind of a first come, first serve, or does it depend on what process they go through?
It does depend on the process that they're going through. When we're talking about partnerships, and if somebody comes to us and says like, "Oh, I have a pantry, I'd like to, become a partner of yours," or maybe they're another organization that is interested in maybe receiving a donation for something that they're working on, and maybe they're not a regular agency partner. That's a little bit of a different process. We have to look at the resources that we have. We have to, just make sure that when we start something, we want to make sure that it can be sustainable. Um,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't want to be doing something and then as much as you can have control over that when it comes to certain aspects of it, but we don't want to start a program that we know, well, we can only do this for a year. It's there's always has to be some sort of continuity plan so that if we provide that service, it is available. So we do a lot of research about that the different things going on in the community, finding the right partners that can help with really making sure that that sustainability aspect is feasible. And then in terms of the agency partners, we have a slew of information on our website that shows and an application that kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking for in terms of a partnership, certain things that have to be in place at the facility, how long you have to be operating before you can become an agency partner, and really we go through all of that with everyone and say, this is a partnership, so in order to access food from us, we need you to agree to a certain amount of responsibility when it comes to storing the food, doing the paperwork. We have funders and we have people in the community that want to know what we're doing. So, you have to be able to submit your monthly reports every month, and you have to be able to store everything safely, and do all of the food safety things that need to happen. When it comes to getting requests from the community, specifically individuals that need assistance, um, our we do not have a lot of restrictions. There's certain programs um, that are government funded where they have certain, criteria that they have to meet. But if you're going to a pantry or a soup kitchen or mobile distributions, um, they're in areas where we know that there is a lot of need. We've sort of vetted the area, and want to be in the area where most likely it would be the most accessible for the people that have a need. They have a self-declaration form that they have to fill out stating, I need food assistance. This is the reason that I qualify. We don't ask for ID. We don't ask for income, verification. It's a self-declared need. We've found that when people need food, they are very scared and sometimes very embarrassed to ask for it. So if they are asking for
Yeah, I
food,
could see that.
then we're gonna give it to them. So like I said, we just need a little bit of information to them for a reporting, how many people are in their household, if there's, the presence of children or seniors or veterans or pets, just so that we have an idea of the landscape and the scope of the people that we're serving. It helps us better plan what we're doing going forward in that area. But there's not a lot of disclosing of any personal financial information. If you're declaring that you have a need, we are there to meet that need for you.
Yeah, I appreciate you going in depth on that, because I can I can see why. I'm sure for someone, if they're going to uh, request this kind of assistance, it can be a humbling experience if you find yourself there. And I can see where you're coming from in that point. I know you had mentioned some of the programs that you have for children and for schools. Do you have anything for uh, other parts of the community, veterans, um,
Mhm.
maybe the homeless, senior citizens?
Yeah, so we have different programs that are specifically tailored for different groups of people. We do have senior programs. We work with the federal government right now with the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, CSFP. It's a monthly senior box program that we have in Indian River County. And so every month, we get our shipment of food that we have our volunteers come in and box up, and then they get delivered directly to the participant's home, so they don't have to, if they have mobility issues, accessibility issues, or if the box is just too heavy for them, we can bring it directly to their house and provide them with a good amount of pantry staples for them to get through the month. We also have some specific mobile distributions in senior housing areas, and we do have some specific partnerships with the Council on Aging and Alzheimer's Community Care that actually provide prepared meals that we make in our production kitchen every day to seniors that are part of their programs that need a little bit more nutrition than what they're getting through the Meals on Wheels program. So we do have a good amount of different programs depending on where your need is and where you're located. And we also do have a good amount of partnerships with veterans organizations. We we have some organizations that have their own pantries that will tap into our resources to kind of stock their pantries on a regular basis. We also have we do have a number of mobile distributions at 3 different American Legion locations, specifically tailored to try to make sure that the veterans that are a part of those organizations are getting the food assistance that they need. And then our Market Fresh on the Move, which is a mobile grocery store, it's a low cost option that we have out there. It's a vehicle that's sort of a grocery store on wheels that goes into the community. And for a very, very low cost or the use of your SNAP benefits, you can get a good variety of fresh fruits and vegetables and, some dairy and eggs when available. That's been a little fluctuating lately due to pricing, and some pantry staples as well. We have that vehicle that goes out to a a housing unit in Vero Beach that is specifically for there's a lot of veterans that live there, so we try to do as much as we can for those populations and for our families. We have our regular pantries and soup kitchens. We have our mobile distributions, and then we also have our case managers who, like I said, assist with enrollment in SNAP and Medicaid, and they also can help you find any other resources that you need in the community. If you're looking for affordable childcare, if you're looking for a dentist that takes your insurance, if you're looking for parenting classes or other types of resources, if you need diapers for your child, they can help you find them depending on where you live and what's available. So we have a lot of different programs, and they kind of, speak to different needs in the community and different groups of people in each of our communities. You're muted again.
Love it. Wonderful.
Sorry.
You're doing great here. No, 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 no. It's my fault, of course.
It's okay.
Um, so I appreciate you mentioning that there are different needs, because one of the questions I wanted to ask you was what's the biggest challenge that the organization faces today, and what can individuals in the community do to help, whether it be to support or donate or give their time?
Well, I think there's 2 different things about the challenges that we have right now in the community, and I always like to try to help people better understand how people come to need food assistance, how people find themselves going to a mobile distribution or food pantry. And a lot of times it's not any one thing, and it's not the same thing for everybody. And I think, that's why we have so many programs. Sometimes people are like, why do you have so many programs? How could we possibly need that many programs? Well, everybody has different needs. Everybody, unfortunately, comes to hunger and to food insecurity differently. They all have unique stories, and they have unique circumstances that they are facing as they are trying to feed themselves and their families. So um, and one of the challenges is really helping people in the community understand that, and also helping them understand that the good majority of the people that we work with, they are working. They are not sitting at home trying to collect government benefits for doing nothing. They are working. They are sometimes working two jobs. They're working on inconsistent schedules, and potentially where they're not able to access health benefits, and they are struggling to meet the needs of their household and their families. So um, we are trying to not just, I think, feed people and stabilize their households, but really, provide the community with a little bit more information and knowledge about, what it's like out there for some of the people in our community. We, there was some data that we were given not that long ago, and it's that 46% of Floridians are just one paycheck away from a financial crisis and disaster. A lot of people are getting by. Um, but one little thing could throw them off and create a situation that takes them a very, very long time to recover from. An unexpected medical bill, a car repair, and right now, one of the things that we're seeing is that people had their lives and their households planned for, I have this income and I have these expenses, and a lot of those expenses have gone up. And the price of food, the price of utilities, transportation, housing has been something that has gone up significantly in the last couple of years. So, um, you know, I think it's scary to say that you may think you're fine, and you are fine based on the way you planned your life, but there's always a chance that you or someone could wind up in that situation. A lot of the people in those situations, it was not in their plan, and they are really
Yeah.
just trying to figure out what to do to kind of get back on their feet. And if they're not working, they do want to work, but most of them are working. And you know that's why some of these cuts that we're seeing right now, some of the cuts that are kind of being proposed in the community, that's the other thing that we're a challenge that we're facing right now, how to plan around the fact that a good amount of the people in our community that receive some of these government benefits may not be receiving them anymore. And the bills passed in the House, there's likely going to be changes in the Senate to that budget reconciliation bill, but we are trying to learn as much as we can and really do everything that we can to plan for um, how those programs may go forward, and how will they be able to help people, and what will we need to do to step in. We're not going to be able to make up that entire gap if some of
Yeah.
those changes do go forward, but we're going to have to do everything we can to do the most that we can to do that. But we do need help from other people to do that.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and that kind of goes back to what you were saying about what can people do. um, you know uh, Help people better understand our organization by having them come and learn more about it. Go on our website, follow us on social media. If you're inclined and have the time, please come volunteer. We can always use more people to help out in our warehouse, but also at our mobile distributions, in our office, helping plan some of the events that help support the organization. And then if you are inclined and able to, we would love to have, people help us provide more funding for the things that we're doing. We're obviously always looking for donors, but it's not the only way you can contribute to our organization, using your time and your voice to help more people understand what we're doing and to be a part of that infrastructure that we have to keep everything running the way it is very, very important as well.
That's great, Krista. Well, I appreciate you being on. I really enjoyed getting the lay of the land for the Treasure Coast Food Bank, and I'll include a bunch of links to your website and social medias and things like that when we post this as well. So hopefully people who are listening can go learn more.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Current by TreasureCoast.com. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Follow us on social media or visit TreasureCoast.com for local events, tips, and news. Have a guest or topic you'd love to hear on the show? Let us know at TreasureCoast.com. Until next time, keep riding the current and enjoying everything the Treasure Coast has to offer. See you soon.